Now to the growing threat of the fiscal cliff. Today on the Senate floor, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell accusing President Obama of being back on the campaign trail instead of working out an agreement with lawmakers. Senator John Thune is on the Senate Budget and Finance Committees. He joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
Have you seen anything to indicate that we are close to a resolution or even moving in that direction?
I haven't, and it's really hard to come to a resolution when one of the parties to that isn't around, and the president, as you mentioned, is out on the campaign trail again.
You're referring to his trip this Friday to Pennsylvania.
Right, and you've got to have presidential leadership to do big things, and that's what we need right now. Obviously, Republicans are here, ready to go to work, ready to solve the issue of the fiscal cliff. What the president wants to do, however, is to raise taxes on small businesses, almost 1 million small businesses who employ 25% of the workforce. That's his proposal. Republicans cannot be for that. And the president said in his press conference right after the election that his #1 priority is going to be jobs in the economy. We agree with that. But if your #1 priority is jobs in the economy, you don't grow the economy and create jobs by raising taxes on small businesses, the very people who create those jobs.
Well, White House Press Secretary today, Jay Carney, said when he was asked when the next meeting with congressional leaders would be, the answer was it would come, quote, at the appropriate time.
Well, nobody knows exactly what that means.
No, it doesn't. No, but I mean, that's my point. Is that you know, look, all of you have had a vacation I referred to while you're all campaigning. You're doing everything for the last 3 months. You've known about this this fiscal cliff for 1.5 years, and now the president's going out Friday to do, as you say, campaigning. The press secretary says, well, there'll be a meeting between leaders at an appropriate time. Appropriate time seems like pretty much like right now.
Well, it does. And to me, what you're seeing with the president and Democrats is sort of an attempt to run out the clock. I think that they gain leverage if the pressure builds toward the end of the year. And frankly, you're hearing a lot of prominent Democrats now saying we should just go over the fiscal cliff and let taxes go up. Which would be a huge mistake in terms of the economy. And we've got lots of analysts have looked at it and economists who have said that if that happens, you're going to reduce economic growth, you're going to lose jobs, and you're going to lower take-home pay for Americans. It is a big mistake to do that. The president knew that in 2010 when the economy was weak. The economy is even weaker now than it was in 2010.
All right, well, let me tell you another no surprise. The debt ceiling of $16.3 trillion, we're going to hit that at the end of December. And the Treasury can do some sort of finagling so that we're not going to be out of money until, or out of credit rather, until mid-February, just about the time when most Americans are expecting the federal government to pay their tax refunds. And at least right now with the debt ceiling as it is, there's going to be no money to pay those, quote, tax refunds.
Right, and the Democrats now want to fold the debt ceiling into these year-end fiscal cliff negotiations. But as you pointed out, I mean, this debt ceiling issue, $16.4 trillion, which are going to exceed, and now they're going to use, quote, extraordinary measures or tools that they have available to get us through.
That's cooking the books. That's
to get us into next year.
If you don't have any more money, and you have no more money, you can't even borrow, you have no more credit, and you can get an extra 2 months, that means you're cooking the books, well, somehow.
Exactly. And what Republicans have said is, look, we're willing to work with you on the fiscal cliff issues, on the debt ceiling, all those things. But we've got to do something about what's causing the debt, and that's runaway federal spending. The problem here isn't that we tax too little, it's that we spend too much.
All right, according to the Democrats want the taxes to go up on the rich over $250,000, which means there'll be enough money, if that happens, to run the government for about 8 or 9 days, leaving about 357 days unfunded. And we still have our structural problem in that it doesn't solve the problems. It solves the problems for 8 or 9 days.
Right.
Did they say anything about that?
No, and really, if you raise taxes on people who create jobs, I mean, they think you're going to get more revenue. You get $68 billion, which actually funds the government for less than a week. But you give all that revenue back in the form of lower economic growth. I mean, you're going to lose growth in the economy. That's what generates more government revenue, is economic growth.
Even if that weren't the problem, even if you give it to them, you give them that money, it's still you only fund 8 days. Even if you let them tax the rich, you still only have 8 days, and you still have the same infrastructure and the same sort of economic structure of our country. Unless we do something serious about it, we're cooked.
Right, and Republicans cannot be for anything that doesn't involve entitlements. You've got to reform entitlement programs. That's got to be on the table. So far, the president's been unwilling to lead on that issue. I know a lot of his outside groups and his allies in Congress don't want him to take leadership on entitlements. But if you don't deal with the issue of entitlement reform, you haven't done anything to solve the problem. You can raise taxes on the rich, but that gets you enough revenue to fund the government for less than a week.
Which is what people don't realize, is that, like, that fight over funding taxing the rich, is that it's really not going to change our problem at all.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a short term. It sounds popular politically, maybe it is, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't solve the problem. The American people want us to solve the problem. That requires presidential leadership.
All right, one quick question. We have a new member of the South Dakota Hall of Fame, I understand, in sports. Your father. We have some good news. The good news for your father.
Yeah, it is. My dad will be 93 next month, and he had a great career. High school, college. He was a 3-year starter at the University of Minnesota as a basketball player.
There's his picture.
Very humble guy. There he is, that's right, and also a World War II fighter pilot, and he was out here a few years ago, and we got a chance to take him around. So.
All right, well, that's always fun. So we have to end on that good news. Anyway, Senator, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta. Great to be with you.